Hey, Sunday night, November 1st, 2020. Holy cow. All right, welcome back, Left Coast Love 2020, your Sunday night spiral. This week, we got some interesting stuff. We got Halloween in the book, so we'll spend a little time getting you up to speed on Halloween, Left Coast Love style here in California, at least in the town I live in. And then we're going to take a big little breather from everything that's going on, and I'm going to do a couple of mini reviews. Been watching some stuff on Netflix, caught up on a bunch of comic books, specifically Batman and SpiderMan. So even if you're not a comic book person, at least I will stick with Batman and Spider-Man because there's some interesting stuff going on there these days. Also, Roger Waters of Pink Floyd fame has released Blu-ray and CD or download, if you want, of some stuff from his 2017-2018 Us and Them tour. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And then towards the end here, as we wind down with a couple of days left before the election, I got a couple of thoughts about being on the edge and some stuff just in general, not really political, but more speaks to what's going on out there. But we got time to get to that, so let's have a little fun first. Hey, Halloween. Halloween in my neighborhood is this year was something else. So we live on a couple of, it's like two cul-de-sacs. So there's a main road that comes down and then two cul-de-sacs that come out. And a lot of kids out here, and with the COVID and kids being home, we our Facebook group for our street, Christie Court, put together a kind of a Halloween open house parade, but outdoors. People brought their, I think maybe they were taking some cues from Club Garage, and we'll talk about that. But bringing the patio furniture out towards the front of the house. So we had fire pits in people's driveways, and people over-decorated the front of their houses. And we all shared a box of plastic gloves and made little individual bags of treats for the kids and had them laid out on a table so that when the kids came by, they could come up. We had Stacy and I were dressed as Ghostbusters. We tried to get Jackson the dog. We have a costume for him, but when you put him in a costume, he just stands there and stares at you. He won't move, so he ends up looking like the saddest dog ever. We had all kinds of fun in the neighborhood. Everybody was out. Like I said, we had a couple of fire pits going in our garage. I posted the video on Facebook, but we were showing Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride in small, kind of people will come in and just talk for a little bit with the masks and then kind of pass through, pick up their candy bags. And all the kids on our street stayed on our street, and it was cool. It was good enough. Stacy brought some cupcakes and leftover Halloween cakes from the bakery at her. She works at Lucky's, the grocery store. They hired a lot of extra help because they're getting a lot of business these days. So she's been making some Christmas money, and they had leftovers. So we got the on the night of Halloween, the discount cupcakes and cakes and stuff. So the kids were super stoked with that. Much in the same way, I think us having Althea's birthday party, and I talked about that a couple of weeks ago, helped kind of draw the neighborhood out and a little bit closer. So like I said, our Our garage has now become somewhat of an outdoor space with the stereo and the TV and the streaming and everything out there, as well as the lawn furniture, which now has cover. So hopefully this will be a tradition that keeps going. Well, so trick or treat, boo, we got through it. Now let's get on to some of the reviews. So, I don't know if you've heard about this. If you have, I'm sorry, but I'm going to just jump. I'm either sharing something new or I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I don't know. But on Netflix, and I don't, I think I heard about it somewhere, and I got curious and started watching. It's called Money Heist when you look for it on Netflix, but it's a Spanish drama that's about a bank heist in Spain. It's actually the heist of the Spanish mint, where they print euros. And initially, I think it was released with subtitles because it is a Spanish television show. And as I was doing a little quickie, grabbing these pictures here for the folks that do watch on YouTube, I noticed that this is actually, I guess, the #1 show on Netflix worldwide. So I don't know that it's caught on huge here in the U.S., but it is really awesome. They have a version where it is dubbed in English, and it's the voice actors do an excellent job, and just the story and the idea behind this particular heist is each time you think you have seen it before in another, Ocean's 12, 13, 14, Mission Impossible, you name it, Inside Man, bank heist type movies, I'm not going to do spoilers, but all of the actors give really great performances. The amount of action and intrigue, it does suffer a little bit from what I call the Netflix, Amazon miniseries fatigue, which that there are certain parts where there is a lot of dialogue, a lot of exposition going on from one character to another. And given that this is in the middle of a heist, I really don't know, how much of that is actually, could actually happen versus made for interesting intrigue in the storytelling. So, but overall, I think the other thing that really made me go from episode 1, I think I blew all the way through season 1, is that part of the heist includes them taking over the Spanish mint for a period of time, and basically they lock themselves inside of the mint with hostages. And that's not really much of a spoiler because any of the pictures or images that go along or that are available in the trailer let you know about that. But what it does is it becomes, because they are confined in there for such a long period of time, you can start to see each of the characters exhibit kind of a different reaction, as well as the hostages, to this long period of confinement and confinement under pressure. So over the course of the first season, you start to understand that the combination of confinement and pressure drives out people's true motives. Like, really, what's going on? What are they thinking about? What's making them make the decisions that they make? And considering what's going on in the world around us, with most of us either working from home and supporting our kids while they do the homeschooling stuff, it's a lot of confinement and a lot of pressure. And I know that, at least anecdotally on the news, this has led to an uptick domestic violence and other types of mental breakdowns or episodes. And the longer we stay confined and under this type of pressure, I think we can only expect more of that. But this was, I thought, a really worthwhile diversion, and apparently there's a couple of seasons ahead. So I don't know. I'm almost to the end of season 1. So, and I think they just got renewed for a season 5. So, highly recommend the Money Heist. I think it hits on all levels. Now, over to comic books. Oh my God, this weekend I finally had some time to catch up on my Batman and SpiderMan books. And typically what I do is I save them until I either have like a complete story arc or a good, 6-7 issue chunk so that I can really get some momentum in the stories. Much like what I was describing with the Netflix series and the Amazon series now, these probably would have been movies of the week a long time ago, and now they break them out into 10 episode seasons. So it's a lot of decompression, a lot of elongated expositions, and they kind of drag out the storytelling. And comic books have been undergoing the same sort of change over the past 20 years with the advent originally of when we had all of the brick and mortar bookstores, but even now online, which is they wait until usually 6 issues come out and they collect them into what they call a trade paperback or a nice hardcover that collects all of the 6 months of worth of issues. Sometimes they make larger volumes and collect, a year's worth of storytelling. Anyways, I had a nice big chunk of Batman, and lately across all of the different Batman titles, there's been a storyline called the Joker War. And, again, this is why I'll talk about it tonight, because both Batman and Joker are well known. But in the comic books, the Joker has kind of been out of sight, out of mind, quiet, I want to say, for a number of years. And then starting the end of last year, he started making his way more and more back into the comics, both with some miniseries as well as leading up to this big event, the Joker War. And I've actually been, you can read the main story and just collect the Batman issues. But when they do a big crossover event like this, if it involves a bunch of characters that I'm interested in, typically I'll pick up all of the extra issues that go around it. And often those extra issues are just a money grab. And Marvel's usually the culprit here. As part of their crossover, hey, go buy this book, and it ends up being like one panel on one page that actually relates back to that story. But these Joker War books, all of they're all buttoned together, and each of them even has scenes that look into other books. So there's a scene in Batgirl that you see from one side, and then you also see that same scene in the issue of Detective, but from the other side of, And I thought not only that, but each of the side stories actually move the larger story forward. So without giving too much away, sort of the crux of the story revolves around the Joker coming back and using the other villains, and especially Catwoman, to hijack Bruce Wayne's fortune and take over Wayne Enterprises and have access to all of that money as well as all of the tech, because we all know that's, kind of the underground backdoor way that Batman gets his tech. One of the things, though, I thought we could have done without here in the Joker War stories was we had Batman, I would say, Batman's tripping again. So, I mean, if there's one character in a comic book that's been drugged, gassed, smoked, poisoned, oh my goodness. I mean, over the years, he's been exposed to more toxins from Scarecrow to Jokers to you just name it. And again, in one of the recent issues of Batman, um, Harlequin uses Poison Ivy's uh, uh, serum from one of the that she can pull together from her plants to basically take Batman off of the board, and we get in and out for 3 or 4 issues. Batman basically tripping balls and hallucinating that Alfred's back from the dead, talking to him, that he's out with, that he's a kid again. It was just, at this point, it's been done so many times. I just wish there was another way, we could take Batman down. Now, on the flip side of that, over the course of these books, the Joker and the other villains have taken the Batman family, if you will, apart, one way or another. And I don't want to give too many spoilers, but there's a famous Batman story that involves him shooting Commissioner Gordon's daughter and paralyzing her. Well, that character is, she's Batgirl, and in the comic books they use nanites and technology and implants, and she eventually is able to walk again and become Batgirl. There's a bunch of different Robins from over the years, and they've all been either converted by the Joker, poisoned, and are now working with him, or even worse, they've been trying to fight the Joker, and I'm just about up to issue 100, of Batman, which is supposed to be kind of the big wrap, the big climax of the story. And I thought that the people that wrote the comic did a super job of reinforcing the idea of family. So Batman eventually recovers from being poisoned, and one by one, and then with the help of the people his family members that he's reclaiming back from the Joker, or back from something he's done to them, to bring his family back together. So it feels like this is going to be just a really good stepping on point, because Batman now has all of his resources available to him. Alfred is still unfortunately gone. The other thing that was great in the Joker War is the new villain, or Joker's new girlfriend, Punchline, and the plot thread that revolves around Harlequin, who used to be the Joker's girlfriend, coming to terms with the Joker now having a new girlfriend, and her part in supporting his war on Gotham City, the Joker War. I recommend the issues. I think the art in these books has been just fabulous. And like I said, I really feel like even the extra issues that, kind of weighed down the price tag of the series, if you will, each of those issues was well worth it. So, good deal there. Now, moving right along, let's talk about recent issues of Spider-Man, because on the one hand, I was, same idea. I pulled off 6 issues off to the side, and read those in a pretty good, in 2 sittings. And what we end up with is there's a lot of parallels, and Marvel and DC have been, bouncing or borrowing story ideas back and forth for years and years. But I mean, right now, at the same time, some of this does feel a little bit forced, because for Spider-Man's anniversary, his 850th issue, of course, we have to bring the Green Goblin back onto the table. So, in the same way that Batman is now fighting his arch nemesis, the Joker, it is now Spider-Man's turn to fight his arch nemesis, the Green Goblin, who has the same color scheme as the Joker, but I think that's a topic for a whole nother podcast. One of the differences, or one of the parallels here, is both Batman and Spider-Man kind of have this no-kill creed, meaning they don't condone or won't support killing even a villain, even if that villain is a murderer, or if that villain is the Green Goblin, for example, who has killed and killed and killed, and every time Spider-Man beats him, or by accident somehow, because the Green Goblin's died and come back a couple of times. It's comic books after all. But, Spider-Man has this creed, even though he's back from the dead, you still can't kill him. And at the same time, he also feels the guilt of every time the Goblin escapes, he's worse than the time before. Sound familiar? Kind of like the Joker, right? So Batman will ultimately beat the Joker, but at what cost? How many people have to die for Batman to finally get around to capturing the Joker, only to have him either a few months, a few weeks, a few years escape, and then eventually wreak havoc and have more kills? So it's an interesting kind of meditation on, they have these no-kill creeds, but yet that leads to more killing. So in the Spider-Man book, they bring in all of the extended Spider-Man family. Again, sound familiar? So Batman at one time was good enough. We had Batman and Robin, and then Batgirl, and then Batwoman, and Batwing, and it goes on. And over the years now, Spider-Man, there's a couple of Spider-Man. You got Miles Morales, we got Spider-Woman, we got Spider-Gwen, we got Gwen Poole, we've got Madam Web, and they kind of build this family around. And as Spider-Man is once again wrestling with his own inner monologue about, okay, I have to go, I'm the only one that can take care of this situation, but in order for me to take care of this situation, I'm going to have to let, do I let the Green Goblin die? Do I let this thing happen to him? So it was just, it was pretty obvious that both Marvel and DC are drinking from the same Kool-Aid right now. And it was almost, typically one kind of follows the other, where one will have like a really exciting idea and run a story, and then the other one will kind of borrow it and change it a little bit. So for me to have both of these kind of very similar stories running at exactly the same time, I don't know. Comics are expensive, and if they're going to keep, if this is going to continue where, I'm getting two separate series about two different types of characters, yet they're only going to give me one kind of story, it's just another, it's another nail in the coffin for the old print comic book. Now, of the two series, I'd say the Batman had the superior artwork. It was consistently, I want to say, rich. The Spider-Man books are great. The art's clean. I have a couple of shots here, and but as you can see, look at the backgrounds. Not a whole lot of detail, just a bunch of speed lines and things. Looks like the backgrounds were done, on a computer. If you look at the Batman books, they're fully penciled and inked and so rich in detail. I'm going to scroll back up here so you can take a look at a little bit of the difference here. And this is just some of the promo art, although this here with the Joker eyes Batman, or the Joker in a modified Batsuit holding a gun to Batman's head here. This is from issue 99, so we're heading, like I said, right into issue 100. All right, so I think we got through the comics. So let's do a little old new music. All right, Roger Waters from Pink Floyd fame. the mastermind behind the wall, one of the creative partners for Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, and of recent, he has been putting together and touring, first The Wall, and in between he has been releasing some pretty solid solo albums, but I have to say that I would imagine that most of the income these days for Roger Waters has been coming from these crazy tours he puts on. Now, the tickets are very expensive, but from what I've seen from now I haven't gone to any of these shows myself, but each time they release one or more of these out on like a Blu-ray or as a pay-per-view, I try to grab it and take a look. And Roger Waters, first of all, he's British, so he's not even American here. And the music from us and them is 80, almost 90% Pink Floyd music that was written well before, well before 1980. So while some of the ideas, political themes, and social unrest are similar to what was happening back then, the characters, listen to me, the individuals that are involved or in government are not the same. But Roger Waters, like I have to say, for a British guy, this guy is so angry with Trump and everything that goes with that. And large portions of his show, especially the video stuff, has been worked in to go with these old Pink Floyd tracks and now give them new, breathe new life into them with new visuals over the top. And he unabashedly just he just bashes Trump for literally the entire set. Now, I was able to kind of get past that and kind of focus in on the music because I love these Pink Floyd tunes and the band that Roger Waters has assembled over the years. And at this point, this group, he's got to be playing with them as long as he was, active with Pink Floyd in one respect. And these guys go out and play these tunes night after night after night, and it is just rock solid. So, once I was able to make peace with Angry Roger, I was able to kind of settle into how tight this band was. So tight, and almost every nuance, and in some cases adding a lot of new texture and context to the Pink Floyd songs. And if you ask me, I think the band did a better job of representing this material to the next generation or to us again in a very impressive way. And I think the band doesn't get enough credit because most people will just focus on the visuals. But if you look away and just listen to the music, unbelievable. Now, the third piece to this is the show is so massive. At one point, literally the cover of Animals is kind of built up in the stadium. So the whole power plant with the pig balloon floating around. I mean, all of that stuff. I think we may have hit a glitch here, so we're going to do a quick pause. All right, maybe I can clip that out. I can clip that out a little bit later. Not used to having all of got 3 different screens going to keep the podcast. So anyway, I was talking about how massive the show was between the lights and the sets, and there has to be at least 20, 21 people in the band. It was the Blu-ray, I think, did a great job with the sound. And, the visuals, like I said, once we got past Angry Roger and they kind of settled into some of the classic Pink Floyd jams. He kind of turned down his anger and leaned into the jams. And overall, I think the rest of the night was better for it. All right, here we go. Standing on the edge. Does everybody else feel like we're on the edge? Like I said, I'm not going to get overly political here, but I just, a couple of comments in a day or two, things are going to change again, one way or the other. And one of the things that I've just noticed in general in this particular cycle, and it didn't start in this cycle, obviously it was part of the last cycle and even the cycle before that, but America being further pushed to the edges of what, and this is Sean's opinion, is of what the intentions of the founding fathers, with their flaws and tendencies and everything that was wrong with them, but at the heart of it, the idea would be that we would, as a country, as a people, as the American people, would move forward. We would continue to progress forward. Now, human nature, right? There's people that are drivers, the A-types, the hunters versus the gatherers versus the farmers. I mean, there's all different types of people in the world, and you need all different types of people in the world for a country or a civilization or a community to work. And within that community, you're going to have differences, and it was the balance in how people with different interests, or in some cases opposite opinions on matters of policy or life or law, would resolve those things. And it's funny because they talk about, hey, our poles, the North Pole and the South Pole, the magnetic poles, they can flip on a planet or even on Earth. And even our political parties have flipped over time. But if you take away Republican or Democrat and just kind of think about, progressive versus conservative. And like I was saying, hey, there's always going to be a group of people that want to progress and move forward and get to the next thing and do it as quick as possible with, kind of that urge to just let things kind of keep happening, keep chewing it up. And conversely, there's people that have more conservative views, which were that, hey, not so fast. We got to take time to understand what the implications of these actions are. Is there a different decision or a different path that we might want to consider? And, or if it was, a direct disagreement, well, we both can't have our way. What sort of agreement or what sort of middle ground can we find so that we could keep moving forward? I also felt like science and logic always had a place in both, just across the board, if you will. And I think about, the advances we've had in technology and medicine and space and communications. And if science is all bullshit and none of it's true and everything's a hoax, then we wouldn't be where we are today, because we wouldn't have made the steps, the leaps in some cases forward that we had in the past, because we trusted science and technology. And I mean, that's all the way back. I mean, talk about just going from iron to steel. Well, somebody had to build the first building. Somebody had to trust. Somebody had to understand that if we, mix these different types of metals together at a high temperature and process them, we now end up with something stronger that can be used to build a whole new world. And then, the next steps forward. So, I don't know that like all science, you know, what happened to science and logic? And even that's become politicized now. So if you believe in science and logic, you're an educated elite, and obviously that means you're a liberal, which obviously means that you want to burn everything down. And I don't know that that's necessarily true, that you can, you know, that everything has to go that far. You know, what happened to kind of that push and pull? But I always felt like we continued to move forward on the backs of logic and science, because that was the one place where everybody could agree, right? So, you know, would we have cell phones? Would we have, you know, the types of advances we've had with medicine and robots doing surgery and laser eye surgery? I mean, all of this stuff, if it was all shady and had, you know, political agendas. And I think that's why over the years you hear about people that, well, you know, hey, they've worked in these areas for their whole lives without any political affiliation, because it's about the science, it's about understanding. And if you want to pull that back to life, then, I mean, this is like one of the themes across literature, religion, right, which is balance, right? You can't be all one side or all the other. There has to be a back and forth if there's going to be a momentum and energy and a progression forward, right? The yin and the yang. If you're a Star Wars person, right, we have to bring balance to the Force. And, you know, Judeo-Christian tradition, you have heaven and hell. You know, would one exist without the other? And, you know, it is a struggle, and at different times, different, you know, there's things go one way or the other. But right now, I think we're on the edge of something, and hopefully it's something that will start to bring us forward again. And, you know, I don't want to cast a lot of shadows or get into it all. And actually, you know what? Here, let me do this. So I'm going to do something I don't think anybody's going to expect from me. But here, where I live in Nevada, I'm going to share a picture of a house. And here you go. So this is one of the houses. So everybody thinks California is like super liberal and all of that. I got news for you people. But here is my 2 cents on this. I have absolutely no problem with this. And, you know, the Constitution is all about property rights. So this family, this person, this gentleman, this woman, I don't even know who lives here. I don't care. But this is their house and their property. And every single one of those banners, signs, whether you agree with it, disagree with it, is on their property. Okay. So, couple of things. Number one, absolutely, like this, like this is how you're supposed to do it, I would think, right? And again, it doesn't matter whether I agree with it or not, but the idea that they have taken the time to get passionate about something and then share that with their neighbors from their property. I think we could do this all day long. I think what we don't need are people getting in pickup trucks and chasing down the bus, the Biden bus down in Texas, and trying to slow it down. And, you know, it's just the good-natured Trump train trying to protect, you know. I don't know that like, that's not free speech. That's aggression. You're actively like trying to create a problem, and for no reason other than just to create a problem. And to me, that's the bigger problem than who gets elected president and who doesn't. You know, I think we should take a lot of the power away from all of these people in Washington. And the easiest way to do that is to stop giving it to them, is to stop looking to people in Washington, whoever's in power, to take care of your problems where you live. We have local elections, you have school boards, most of your taxes occur where you live. The schools that educate our kids are in your town. The types of businesses, roads, policing, all of these things are controlled, believe it or not, at the local level. And that's where you can exact change. So, I think you should get out and vote. I think everybody should vote their conscience, no matter what it is. And I also think that whatever the results are, that people just need to get over it one way or the other and see what we could do to maybe try to bring all of us back to some things that we can share together, so that we don't have to be red versus blue. So we don't have to have people that scream and yell at people that are making $10, $12 an hour making coffee or trying to stock the shelves. My wife works at one of the local grocery stores, and again, right now, that's kind of an important job. That's one of the places that's still open. It's one of the places where we go to get food, because the restaurants and other places aren't open anymore. A lot of them are out of business. And can't you have a little bit of compassion for those people? They don't deserve to be yelled and screamed at for trying to do their job and take care of everybody in the community. So I think that's where I'm going to kind of pull it in for tonight. Overall, like I said, I'm somewhat excited about the election, because, like I said, we're gonna get a change one way or the other, and if people can just calm down, I think we'll be able to get through it, no matter what the outcome is. And if you want to, fly your flag, put up your banner, share your ideas, then I think your Facebook page is appropriate for that. I think your front yard is appropriate for that. I think if you want to ask and engage people in one-on-one conversation, that's appropriate as well. But let's keep the anger and the judging of other people based upon what some of their ideas are to a minimum over the next couple of days. And our kids are watching us here. So that's what I got for you guys this week. There's Jackson, as always, standing by at the ready. I thank you for dropping in. And, I didn't even mention, COVID cut. So there you go. That's a fresh one today. Couldn't take it. I think I threatened it last week, but we finally went ahead and dusted off the Clippers and put them to action. So until next week, Left Coast Love 2020, and stay off the edge. Thanks. Good night.